So this is where my panels are going to live. I have the vents open so I can check clearance. I want the panels to be relatively close to one another laterally, and there is a little bit of an overhang over the back of the vehicle, but as you can see, I've got the spare tire as well as the garden, so I'm not worried about backing into anything. I'll have to worry about height clearance, but that's nothing new. Anybody who drives an RV knows you have to worry about 8 points as opposed to 4 with a car. And so this is where they're going to sit. Not quite even all the way in the bottom because there's a little bit of a slope in my roof, so I'm going to have to use some extra butyl tape to try to line that up a little better. Okay, all the joints are butyl taped, so it looks like this, and basically what I did was I put layers underneath and then I went around and put a border all the way around. So now I'm going to drill my self-tapping wood screws into the holes that I created, and then I'm going to lap sealant the whole thing up. So this will start to take shape. Okay, everything's bolted in. Got the butyl tape. It's all squished down a little bit, but all of the brackets are mounted onto the roof, and now I'm going to use my die-core self-leveling lap sealant and seal these up. The panels got all the lap sealant in place, and they're setting nicely. And then this is going to be my junction box, and what I have, it's going to be difficult to see here. I'll try to pull it up, but I've got 2 screwdrivers that are coming up from inside that are holding the place of the 2 holes for the wires. I've got butyl tape underneath the whole thing, and then I've got self-tapping wood screws with the little, washers on it that have the little rubber washers, so it'll help kind of seal everything up. And then as this gets locked into place, I'll butyl the corners really fine, and then I'll go around and lap sealant the whole thing. So that'll be the junction box. And on the other side, you can see through that there are 2 holes that are drilled. And what I did was I wanted to go with this box where you have to drill your own holes, because I didn't want the holes to sit all the way on the bottom. Sometimes the boxes have the holes that sit on the bottom, and just in case there's any pooling of water, I just didn't want the opportunity for pooled water to get into these 2 access holes, so I put them a little higher. So that's why I went with this. It's probably difficult to see everything in here, but this is the negative terminal of my batteries. I've got 2 Trojan batteries wired up here for a 12 volt, and that's going to the shunt. You can see the sensing wires. And up there, there's normally a lid here, so I can access the batteries from inside the coach if I want to check the water levels and such. But there is my Morningstar TriStar PWM, and green light, it's all charged up, so things are running smooth. And I got the cables. They essentially run, I pretty much did a straight run just right up the side, and then they go right up into that junction box. So the cables go through my closet, but it's a bright sunny day. Panels are soaking up the rays, and over there, I don't know if you can see it, but I disconnected the power cable, the yellow cord on the ground. It's no longer connected to the building. I'm off the grid, so to speak, so very excited about that. And I guess that's all I got. I'll show you a shot of the inside here. So here's the access panel removed. So this is my closet, and down in here I can access my batteries, check the water levels and such. And over here is the TriStar. What I did was I went with an automotive, this is just a 20 amp fuse, so it's in there in this little rubber casing. So that's the fuse to the positive. And then these cables actually run up right through the closet, straight up. So they'll be pushed to the side when I put in my clothing container boxes. Just wanted to give a shot of the Trimetric 2025 RV. You'll notice right now it's reading amps. It reads amps coming in and going out, and right now it's positive 1.4, 1.3 amps. It sounds like a low number, and just to give you an idea of why it's so low, and I think this is kind of cool, when I come outside here, it's relatively clear, but you can see that it's actually quite overcast right over the vehicle. So even on this overcast day, right now with a little bit of sun out, I'm actually still bringing in amps, which I think is kind of cool. I figured it would be at a 0 on something like that, but still managed and pulling in amps from there. Batteries are at 91% capacity and currently at 13.3 volts. So now if I go over here and if I turn this battery switch to 1, that means that my house batteries are now going to power up this inverter. So if I turn that on, You'll notice that also reads 13.3, so I'm getting the same readout between those two. And then this battery charger, I'm plugged into shore power currently, so I can plug in my battery charger up there in one of the outlets, and then we'll see what comes up here. Yep, 13.2. So what I can do is I can charge from here when I'm plugged into shore power, or when I'm running the vehicle, I can flip this over to number 2 when the car's running, and then my alternator will constantly supply power to the inverter. I can hook up this guy to that. And you'll notice right now, when I go over here to amps, watch what happens to the amps. So now they're up to 1.8. And they might stay at 1.8 because we're at about 95% charge capacity. So it's not going to push a whole lot in there. But you'll notice that over here it says 91% capacity. As they get to 100, those numbers get closer and closer. I've been watching this cycle a couple of times, so not concerned about that discrepancy right now. Come back here. Yeah, and see now we're not pulling in much at all from the panels, although we also have the inverter on, so watch what happens. I'll shut that off. So when I shut that off, and now all of a sudden the panels are pulling in a little bit more. That just means that this was creating a draw from what they were getting from the panels. Yep, so still pulling in about an amp, which is great considering the overcast day. But yeah, that's the system in action. So there it is. So here's another cool thing we can do. So right now the trimetric is reading that we're taking in 0.6 amps, and that's because it's an overcast day. So we're getting not much at all. So watch what happens now. So I'll flip this over. Okay, so now we're on house battery. I'll turn this on. Alright, so the draw of this was enough to take it down to about 0. So that means that what's coming in and what's going out is just about 0. So now I'm going to unplug my low wattage refrigerator, and I'm going to plug it into the inverter, and that means now it's coming from the house system. So we'll get a little bit of a wattage read. It's pulling about 30 watts down there. And you'll notice now all of a sudden up here we're reading amps, negative 5.9 amps. So whatever the panels are taking in, minus whatever the battery system is being taxed and charged with, is the number that you're going to get here on the readout. It's funny because it's kind of like exercising, you know, the calories in versus the calories out. And right now I'm looking at a loss, if you will, of 6 amps. So if I unplug the fridge, now, see, we're losing less. And brings it back to about losing about a half an amp. And you can actually, and this is kind of cool, you can hear the rain outside. I don't know if you can see it, but little rain, little overcast. Oh, now we're back down to 0. So if I shut off the power inverter, see now we're taking in about 0.4 amps, and it's raining. So to me that's kind of amazing. I thought that for sure we wouldn't be taking in anything on a rainy day, but it's nice to know that we're still able to get something to come in, so cool.